Case rotation is the main thing that powers the case investing narrative. Since a new Revolution case has just been added, many cases skyrocketed in price. With this in mind, we can already start discussing the upcoming changes in the active duty drop pool, as they are the two most obvious candidates to be removed from it with the new case, Fracture and Snakebite cases. Hello and welcome, this is Fizz, and in this video I want to give you my thoughts on Snakebite and Fracture cases, both of which are the oldest additions to the Prime drop pool. At the same time, these two are the cheapest, and it's a public secret that one of them will be moved to the rare drop pool as soon as the next case gets introduced into the game. It's not easy to determine which case will be removed, but we can compare and see which one currently holds more value in terms of investing perspective. In order to compare these two cases, I came up with some statistical points that I want to address. First of all, as Valve is trying to make as much money as possible, we should, in fact, focus on unboxing numbers more than the actual date the case was introduced to the game, as in the not so distant future, the quote-unquote age narrative wasn't the deciding factor for the Valve. The infamous clutch case remained in the pool for almost 5 years. There are no official unboxing numbers out there, but the CSGO Market Discord channel has some truly wonderful members who managed to compile some of the calculations and numbers. User Fiadik posts monthly case unboxing updates, and his calculations are presumably the most accurate out there. So when we look at the numbers, we can see that the Fracture and Snakebite cases rival one another in terms of unboxing numbers. For instance, in January 2023 there was only a 0.15% difference in unboxing numbers. In total, both cases were unboxed more than 4 million times in January, which led to Valve making around $10 million just from key sales for these two cases. Of course, it's worth noting that all three other actively dropping cases had more openings than Snakebite and Fracture. This again strengthens the point that these two cases are the main candidates to be rotated with the introduction of a new case. At first, we can look at two very simple and objective things: the date of introduction and the price. Fracture case was introduced into the game on August the 6th, 2020, while Snakebite appeared in the game roughly 8 months later, on May the 3rd, 2021. When making this video, the Snakebite case is going for around 17 cents, and the Fracture is around 41% more expensive, as it is going for 24 cents. Obviously, knowing that the Fracture case is the oldest one, we are slowly getting to the clutch case scenario when the price got slightly inflated due to people pricing in the possibility of that case being moved into the rare drop pool. However, it is not as simple as just looking at the price and age. We also need to go a bit deeper here. We have already touched on unboxing numbers in January, and looking back at other months, we can see a fairly similar result. Both loot boxes were continuously unboxed in similar quantities. The average difference between the two in the last 6 months stayed below 9%, and during this period, Snakebite was the slightly more popular choice amongst unboxers. However, throughout these 6 months, these two cases were the least unboxed cases in the Prime drop pool, and even the cheapest individual case price did not have an impact on this. Let's add one more interesting point. Even with a slight difference between the two, both cases have a fairly similar sales volume daily, with the Fracture case performing slightly better over a longer period of time. Since we have already concluded that these two cases are really similar in popularity and unboxing numbers, we can now look at the return on investment numbers that give us a clue which case is technically giving better returns for unboxers. A few websites estimate a case ROI, but I decided to stick to csroi.com. According to their information, the Fracture case has an ROI of 55.49%, while Snakebite is at 55.13%. These return on investment numbers are fairly average for active duty drop pool cases, as both Revolution and Recoil cases have better ROI, while Dreams and Nightmares case is down by around 4%. So from the unboxing ROI perspective, there is no real difference between Snakebite and Fracture cases. At this point, we can look at each case's individual items, as these are very important long term. Typically, people only care about 3 skin categories: classified, covered, and rare special items. Snakebite case has a very average classified and covered skins. In the Snakebite case, 3 classified skins are made for fairly unpopular skins: Galil, MP9, and an XM. If we compare this to the Fracture case, there is definitely a big difference, as Fracture has an M4A4, a Glock, and an XM skin. The popularity difference is visible in Steam market listings. For instance, the StatTrack field-tested classified skins from the Fracture case have almost double the listings of Snakebite counterparts. The same things can be said about the prices, as Fracture StatTrack skins are around 50% more expensive on average. We have two options in both cases when we look at covered skins. The Snakebite collection has an M4A4 and USPS skins, while Fracture has a Desert Eagle and an AK. Both cases have popular skins in this category, but it's fairly obvious that the ones in the Fracture case are better. The aforementioned collection has a Desert Eagle print stream, which is one of the most expensive and most popular covered Desert Eagles in the game. The popularity difference can once again be seen in the Steam listings tab. I looked for field-tested skins on both collections, and the results are quite forthcoming. Not only the Fracture collection skins are slightly more popular, but the prices are almost double as expensive as in the Snakebite case. The final straw in this comparison is the rare items, that's where both collections have the biggest differences. The fracture case has knives while the Snakebite has gloves. Let's start with the fracture case and move on to the Snakebite. The fracture case has the quote-unquote new knives, Nomad, Paracord, Skeleton and Survival. These knives have the OG finishes, the most expensive ones being Crimson Web, Kiss Harden and Fate patterns. While I'm not a huge fan of these knives, you can only get these specific knives in two cases, a discontinued Operation Shadow Web case and Fracture. So we can assume that if you want these knives specifically, you are more likely to open a cheaper fracture case. Now let's talk about the Snakebite case. This case has a 3rd generation gloves in it, and it shares the same gloves with discontinued Operation Broken Fang and Recall cases. Once again, the Snakebite is the cheapest one, so it's still the #1 option for these particular pairs of gloves. When we look at them closely, it's probably an individual preference if we like them, but this case has some expensive gloves. Sport gloves Slingshot and Driver gloves Snow Leopard are leading the way, and there are some other interesting gloves that are getting more and more attention nowadays. At this point, I want to make it clear I have no additional information as to which case is going to be removed from the primed drop pool. I'm only trying to make some assumptions based on the information I shared with you before. We can keep in mind that there are currently 3 cases in the active duty drop pool with gloves and 2 with knives as a rare item. This may hint towards knives being included in the next case, but who actually knows, as I made the same prediction before the Revolution case dropped. Now, if I needed to guess which case would be moved or removed next, I would pick the fracture case. Not only it is the older one, the more expensive one, but it historically got overshadowed by Snakebite's opening numbers. If there's anyone who likes to milk case opening numbers to the very end, it's definitely Val. I also believe that the fractured case has some decent market listing numbers and even better skins, and overall I believe this case has a bright future. I would like to remind you that I'm not a financial advisor. You must always do your own research before you ape into anything. In fact, as a disclaimer, I must tell you that I own both cases in a reasonable quantities. If you're still watching, I'm really thankful and I hope you found this video interesting. If so, please leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.